The war had already eaten 10 long years of human history. 10 years of fire, of screams across the stars, of colonies reduced to dust. Humanity had spread far, too far, some whispered, and in that bold expansion we had caught the eye of those who ruled the galaxy long before us. The aliens did not come with peace. They did not come with words. They came with judgment. They called themselves the Coalition of the Pure, a union of dozens of alien races, each older and richer in knowledge than humankind. Together they spoke with one voice. Humanity must not rise. Humanity must not spread. Humanity is dangerous. Humanity must be destroyed. At first humanity laughed. It was unthinkable that creatures from the stars would descend like ancient gods to burn our homes. But then the skies of Mars lit with alien fire. The colonies on Europa screamed into the void. Ships returning to Earth carried nothing but ashes and silence. The laughter died quickly. Human fleets were brave. Humanity has always fought with courage, even when every calculation shows defeat. Our admirals launched counterattacks. Our soldiers gave their lives in burning ships and broken trenches. Civilians armed themselves on frontier worlds, standing with nothing but rifles against orbital bombardments. Humanity resisted with every drop of strength it had, but courage alone cannot win against numbers without end. The coalition was vast. For every human ship they brought 10. For every defense they found another way around. Their fleets rolled across the stars like an endless tide, and one by one human colonies were erased. Whole families vanished. Whole cultures born on new worlds were burned away in seconds. Earth watched, helpless, afraid. There were those who whispered that it was only a matter of time. That humanity's story among the stars would end before it truly began. Some councils debated surrender. Some begged for mercy. Some asked if perhaps the aliens were right. Perhaps humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to live, but not everyone believed that. In the shadows of old shipyards, in the ruins of forgotten wars, something stirred. A name began to echo among frightened soldiers, whispered first as rumor, then as hope, and finally as fear, even among the enemy. That name was Blackstar. No one knew where it came from. No one knew when it had been built. Some said the Blackstar was an old warship, a relic from a time before the Coalition had noticed us. Others claimed it was an experiment, too terrible to be unleashed until desperation forced humanity's hand. And there were darker whispers still, that it was not just a ship, that it was something else. What was known was simple. When the Blackstar arrived, it did not arrive like other ships. There were no flags, no speeches, no glorious music or grand declarations. It emerged from the void in silence, sliding out of hyperspace like a shadow that had been waiting for the right moment. The USS Blackstar was vast, black as midnight and scarred as though it had already fought 1,000 battles no one had witnessed. Its surface was jagged in places, its lines sharp and cruel. It looked less like something built and more like something forged. Forged in grief, forged in anger, forged to do only one thing: to kill. When the Blackstar first appeared, even humans were afraid. Our fleets kept their distance. Our officers did not call it for orders. No commander dared to question who commanded it, or if anyone did at all. It spoke no greetings. It sent no request for docking. It did not resupply, and it did not rest. It simply drifted in the dark, waiting. The waiting ended near Vega. A convoy of human refugee ships, slow, unarmed, filled with the broken and the lost, was caught by an alien fleet. 70 warships surrounded them, preparing to turn the last survivors of a colony into dust. There was no chance of escape. There was no time for hope. And then the void cracked open. The Blackstar arrived. At first, the refugees thought it was another alien dreadnought. Its black surface gave no light, no welcome. The aliens themselves hesitated. They did not recognize the design. They did not know its name. But when the first shot came, there was no doubt. The Blackstar did not hesitate. It did not warn. It did not give the Coalition a chance to surrender. It unleashed fury. Black beams cut across space, carving through alien hulls like paper. Missiles streaked in silence, curving unnaturally, as if space itself bent to guide them into their targets. One by one, the alien warships died, burning, breaking, and falling into silence. 10 minutes. That was all it took. 10 minutes for 70 warships to vanish. 10 minutes for the greatest terror in human history to become the hunted. 10 minutes for the galaxy to learn a new truth. The Blackstar had entered the war, and nothing would ever be the same. The destruction at Vega spread through the galaxy like wildfire. For the refugees who survived, the memory was burned into their souls. They had expected death. They had prepared to see their families consumed by alien fire. Yet in the final hour, a shadow had risen from the void, striking with such fury that no one, human or alien, could understand what they had witnessed. The USS Blackstar. It became more than a ship that day. It became a story. At first, the human fleet commanders were cautious. They asked themselves, was it real? Could one ship destroy 70 warships in minutes? The records showed wreckage. The survivors swore by it. But even then, some wondered if desperation had painted the truth brighter than it was. But then it happened again. On the colony of Eridani 4, civilians huddled in shelters as the Coalition fleet broke through orbital defenses. Hope was gone. They waited for the bombardment. Then from the dark, the Blackstar emerged. 10 ships fell before the aliens even turned to face it. 20 more tried to surround it, only to be shredded like glass in a hurricane. When the battle ended, the colony still stood, and the Blackstar was already gone, leaving only debris behind. The whispers grew louder. To the soldiers of humanity, the Blackstar was a savior, a guardian that appeared where all else failed, a weapon too terrible to be understood yet too needed to be questioned. The refugees called it an angel of vengeance. The admirals, though, were less certain. They asked who commanded it. Why did it never answer hails? Why did it never return to dock? No answers came. Among the Coalition, the whispers were darker. Captains spoke of a black ship that moved like no vessel should. Some said its weapons were forbidden technology, powered by horrors stolen from forgotten wars. Others claimed it was alive, guided by something more than machines. Prisoners taken from the battlefield shook with fear, swearing they had seen beams that bent around shields, missiles that hunted their targets like predators. They gave it names in their own languages: the Phantom, the Star Eater, the Shadow of Earth. But in every tongue, one meaning was clear: the Blackstar was a monster, and the monster did not negotiate. When other fleets fought, they gave warnings, called for surrender, or tried to protect prisoners. The Blackstar did none of this. It struck fast. It struck hard. And when it finished, only silence remained. Not a single alien ship escaped to fight again. At first, the Coalition laughed. Surely it was chance. Surely their fleets had been unlucky, caught off guard. But the more they laughed, the more they bled. A task force of 60 ships vanished in the Barnard Expanse. Another 90 strong was annihilated near Wolf 359. Not one survivor returned. And always survivors on the human side spoke the same words. The Blackstar was there. Soon even the bravest alien captains began to hesitate. Rumors spread that to face the Blackstar was to invite certain death. Fleets began to retreat at the slightest hint of its presence. Some worlds surrendered rather than risk a confrontation. But with every victory, new questions rose among humans. Why did it fight alone? No fleet, no escorts, no support. Where did it come from, and where did it go when battles ended? Why did no one ever see its crew disembark? Some swore it was crewed by ghosts, the souls of fallen soldiers bound to steel. Others claimed an AI commanded it, one too dangerous to trust but too powerful to destroy. A few whispered that maybe it had no crew at all, that it was simply vengeance, shaped into metal and fury. And there was one more question that troubled the human admirals. What price was humanity paying for this savior? Because the Blackstar never stayed. After every victory, after every massacre of alien fleets, it simply vanished into the cold dark. No celebration, no rallying cry, no explanation, only silence. The silence frightened them almost as much as the ship itself. Yet, despite fear, humanity clung to the Blackstar. Every soldier, every refugee, every child hiding under alien bombardment learned the same desperate prayer. Let the Blackstar come. Because in a galaxy drowning in fire, in a war humanity was certain to lose, the appearance of that shadow was the only thing that gave them hope. But hope was a double-edged blade. For while humans prayed for the Blackstar, the Coalition began to understand something dangerous. They realized that this was not just a war against humanity. This was a war against the wrath of a people who refused to sky, and the Blackstar was that wrath. Given form, the aliens thought they had seen human stubbornness before. They thought they had broken human courage before. But they were wrong. The whispers carried across the stars. Into every fleet, into every frightened soldier's heart, the Blackstar had entered the war, and the war was beginning to change. The galaxy soon learned that the Blackstar was not a savior in the way humans wanted it to be. It was not gentle. It was not merciful. It was wrath. When the Blackstar appeared, there was no negotiation, no plea for peace, no offer of mercy. It did not disable enemy ships. It did not capture. It did not spare. It erased. The first clear proof of this came during the siege of Orion's Gate. Orion's Gate was a fortress world, defended by thousands of humans who knew they could not hold the line. The Coalition had sent a fleet of 80 warships, each one stronger and faster than the battered human defenses. They swept in with cold precision, cutting apart destroyers, smashing through orbital stations, burning the skies. The human fleet fought with courage, but courage alone could not stop the tide. Soon, only a few scattered defenders remained. Families in shelters below whispered their last goodbyes, certain the end had come, and then the void rippled. The Blackstar entered the system. It came in silence, a vast shadow sliding out of hyperspace like a wound in the universe. For a moment, both sides froze. Even the alien admirals hesitated, their ships turning nervously toward the dark shape that had arrived unannounced. Then the wrath began. The Blackstar did not maneuver like any ship should. It cut its engines, spun in impossible angles, and moved as if the laws of physics had no hold on it. Its weapons fired in waves, black beams slicing through shields, missiles curving through space like predators hunting prey. The alien fleet tried to regroup. They fired everything, plasma storms, rail slugs, ion lances, but nothing slowed the Blackstar. The beams tore through capital ships like paper. Carriers detonated in chains of fire. Cruisers tried to run only to be hunted down and shattered. 10 ships fell, then 20, then 40. To the humans watching from below, it looked like vengeance itself had risen from the void to fight for them. They cheered even as they wept, unable to believe what they were seeing. To the aliens, it looked like death given form. Death that did not stop, did not reason, did not forgive. In less than half an hour, the Coalition fleet was gone. All 80 ships destroyed, no survivors. When the last wreckage drifted, the Blackstar transmitted one message across every channel: "This is humanity's vengeance." It was the only time the ship had spoken. After the battle, the Blackstar did not stay to bask in victory. It did not land. It did not dock. It did not let anyone approach. Without a word, it vanished back into hyperspace, leaving only silence and wreckage as its legacy. From that day, the galaxy understood. The Blackstar was not a protector in the way humans once dreamed of knights and guardians. It was not a shield. It was a blade. A weapon forged from grief and rage, designed to cut down every enemy that dared to touch humanity. The Coalition felt the weight of this truth first. Their commanders tried to explain the defeats, to tell their soldiers it was nothing but luck. But soldiers talk. Survivors whisper, and whispers turned to fear. Captains began to hesitate when they saw a shadow on their scanners. Fleets grew restless. Some broke ranks and fled at the mere rumor that the Blackstar was near. But the fear did not stop there. Among humans, new debates began. Admirals asked themselves who commanded the ship. Could it be controlled? Was it even ours to command? Because while the Blackstar fought for humanity, it fought on its own terms. It answered no hails. It ignored all orders. It appeared only where it chose. The people didn't care. To them, the Blackstar was salvation. To soldiers on the ground, it was hope made real. To children hiding in shelters, it was the reason they lived another day. But the admirals feared what they could not control. For if the Blackstar truly was a weapon of vengeance, then what would happen when the war was over? Would it stop? Would it rest? Or would it turn its wrath on anything, even humanity itself, that stood in its path? No one knew. What they did know was this. The Blackstar had shown its wrath for the first time at Orion's Gate. It had wiped out a fleet that should have crushed humanity with ease. And from that moment forward, the galaxy no longer saw humans as weak. They saw us as dangerous. They saw us as stubborn. They saw us as something that, once provoked, could never be stopped. And at the heart of that fear, always waiting in the dark, was the Blackstar. It was not hope. It was not salvation. It was vengeance. And nothing survived its wrath. The Blackstar's shadow reached further than its weapons ever could. It had spoken only once. "This is humanity's vengeance." Those words echoed across star systems, carried in every survivor's story, repeated in every frightened breath. For the first time, the coalition of the pure, proud rulers of the stars felt something they had not felt in centuries. They felt fear. At first, the coalition leaders tried to deny it. They told their people the Blackstar was only a myth, an illusion painted by desperate humans to hide their weakness. But denial cannot hide burning wreckage. It cannot erase fleets that vanish without survivors. Every time the Blackstar appeared, it left behind nothing but silence and drifting metal. And silence was harder to ignore than any rumor. Alien admirals began to falter. When their fleet set out, they looked over their shoulders, scanning the void for shadows. Captains whispered before battle, "What if the Blackstar comes?" Entire squadrons reported ghosts on their scanners, mistaking asteroids or shadows of moons for the dreadnought. Some refused to advance, paralyzed by the thought that death itself might appear. For centuries, the coalition had been the hunters. They had ruled the stars with cold confidence, crushing younger races, shaping the galaxy to their will. But now, they were being hunted. The Blackstar had changed the rhythm of war. It did not fight like other fleets. It struck suddenly out of nowhere, destroying everything in its path. It never claimed territory. It never built defenses. It did not act like an army. It acted like vengeance itself, choosing battles no one expected, leaving no chance for recovery. For the humans, this was both hope and terror. Soldiers on distant outposts prayed to see its black hull. Refugees cried with joy when it appeared, whispering that the Blackstar was proof humanity was not forgotten. Yet commanders still feared the silence that followed. They asked again and again, why did it never stay? Why did it never join their fleets? Why did no one ever see its crew? No answers came. Only silence. Always silence. But silence was enough to break the enemy. On the mining colony of Perseus 9, the Coalition sent a fleet of 30 ships. Before they even reached orbit, their scanners picked up a faint shadow. One glimpse of the Blackstar, and the fleet retreated without firing a shot. The colonists never saw a single missile, but they wept with relief knowing the monster's reputation had saved them. In another system, an alien commander refused to retreat. He told his soldiers the Blackstar was only a trick. He demanded they stand and fight. When the Blackstar came, his ships lasted 13 minutes. There were no survivors. Fear had spread faster than war itself. Even among the coalition worlds, whispers grew. Civilians asked their leaders, "Why are we at war with these humans? Why did we provoke such wrath?" Merchants hid their ships rather than carry supplies to the front. Families on alien homeworlds trembled when their skies grew dark, imagining the shadow of the Blackstar blotting out their suns. The coalition had built its power on unity, many races standing together under one banner. But unity cracked under fear. Some races quietly withdrew their fleets. Others demanded the war end before the Blackstar came for their own worlds. The council argued, divided by doubt, each voice raised louder, each admiral less willing to fight. And always, in the silence between their words, was the memory of the shadow. For humans, this fear was a weapon. The Blackstar's legend traveled faster than its guns, reaching worlds the ship itself had never visited. Where the Blackstar could not go, its reputation still fought. Alien fleets surrendered without a battle. Worlds refused orders, terrified of drawing its attention. But there was a cost, because the Blackstar was not only feared by the enemy, it was feared by humans too. Commanders wondered what price they would pay for such a weapon. Politicians worried what would happen when the war ended. Some whispered in private, is the Blackstar even ours? Or is it something else, something that only pretends to fight for us? And deeper still, in quiet voices, came the darkest question. If the Blackstar's vengeance, then what happens when its vengeance is complete? No one had the courage to answer. For now, the war continued. The coalition pulled back. Planets spared not because of human fleets, but because of the fear of a single ship. Humans gained breathing room. Colonies rebuilt. Children lived to see another sunrise. But across the stars, even in the most powerful alien strongholds, the same thought burned in every mind. The Blackstar had entered the war, and nothing survived its wrath. For every victory the Blackstar won, new questions rose from its shadow. At first, humanity did not care. People celebrated its wrath. They cheered when the alien fleets were turned into fire and wreckage. For the first time in years, humans were not only surviving, they were striking back. But behind the cheers came whispers. Whispers that carried doubt, unease, and fear. Because the Blackstar was not like other ships, it never docked, never resupplied, never asked for fuel or repairs. After each battle, when human fleets called for it to join them, it simply vanished into the dark. No one saw its crew. No one saw it open its hangars or respond to hails. It fought like a storm that came without warning and disappeared just as quickly. To the people, this mystery made it a legend. To commanders, it made it a problem. Admirals studied its movements and tried to track it. But the Blackstar never followed orders. It appeared where it wanted, struck where it chose, and left without explanation. Some wondered if it was following a plan no one else could see. Others feared it was not following a plan at all, that it was hunting for reasons only it knew. And then there were the scars. Every time the Blackstar returned from battle, its hull looked worse. Not in small ways, but in great, terrible wounds. Sections of armor blackened and melted. Massive cracks stretched across its frame. Entire towers of plating were gone, as if torn away by invisible claws. Yet somehow it kept fighting. Humans never saw it repaired. They never saw workers patch its wounds. And yet in every battle its weapons burned just as bright. Its beams cut just as deep. Its missiles hunted just as mercilessly. This frightened even the bravest of men. Some whispered that the Blackstar was alive, that the ship itself healed in ways no human machine should. Others whispered darker things, that it did not heal but burned itself away piece by piece with every strike it made, that every victory consumed a part of it. There was a story told among soldiers. They said the Blackstar was crewed not by men and women but by the dead, ghosts of every colony burned to ash, bound to steel by hatred, piloting the ship through the void. Each time it fought, those spirits gave up more of themselves, until nothing would remain but silence. Others said it was no ghost ship at all, but an AI, an ancient experiment humanity had locked away because it was too dangerous. A mind too powerful, too merciless, that could not be trusted. And yet now, in humanity's darkest hour, that mind had been unleashed. But one truth was certain. The Blackstar was paying a price for every battle. No ship could fight forever. No machine could burn so brightly without consuming itself. Admirals knew this. Soldiers knew this. And still no one dared to stop it, because humanity needed it. Every colony still alive prayed for its arrival. Every family hiding in shelters whispered the same hope. Let the Blackstar come. Every child drew its shadow in the dirt, the black hull with wings of fire. Humanity clung to the monster even as they feared what it might truly be. But among the leaders, unease grew. What if the Blackstar was not fighting for humanity at all? What if its wrath had nothing to do with orders, councils, or nations? What if it fought only for vengeance, its own vengeance, and when that vengeance was done, it would not stop? Would it turn against the aliens, or would it turn against everything? No one could answer, and yet the Blackstar kept fighting. It kept appearing where humanity's need was greatest, kept tearing fleets apart, kept burning itself brighter and brighter in the void. But with every battle, one thing became clear. The Blackstar was not invincible. Its victories were terrible and complete, but its body carried the cost. Its scars grew deeper, its silence grew longer. And though no human could see its crew, many began to wonder if there were even souls left alive inside. Perhaps the ship was empty. Perhaps it had been empty for years. Perhaps what remained was only a ghost, a memory of rage, piloting a dying machine through endless battles until nothing was left but wreckage. Whatever it was, one truth lingered in the hearts of all who lived in those dark years. The Blackstar had given humanity back its hope. But hope always comes with a price. And soon, the galaxy would learn just how high that price truly was. The Blackstar's legend had grown too large. By now, whole sectors of the galaxy had changed shape because of it. Worlds that once marched proudly beneath the coalition banner now trembled. Fleets that once stormed through human colonies now hesitated. searching the darkness for a shadow they could not fight. The coalition of the pure had built its empire on fear, but fear is a weapon that cuts both ways, and the Blackstar had turned that weapon back on them. Still, the coalition was vast. Their fleets numbered in the thousands. Their armies stretched across stars. And though the Blackstar struck hard, it was only one ship, or so they told themselves. The council of the coalition gathered in secret. They spoke not with the confidence of rulers, but with the anger of those humiliated. The name of the Blackstar had reached their homeworlds. Civilians whispered about it in markets. Children of alien races feared it in their dreams. This could not be allowed to continue. The council agreed. The Blackstar must be destroyed, no matter the cost. So they planned their final gamble. Every fleet still loyal was called to one place, the Carina Rift. It was a region of broken stars and swirling storms of radiation, a natural trap where no ship could easily escape. There, the coalition would gather a wall of firepower so vast that nothing could survive it. Thousands of ships. Carriers, cruisers, dreadnoughts, entire armadas. The largest force the galaxy had seen in centuries. The plan was simple. Spread word of a human convoy traveling through nearby space. The Blackstar they knew would come. It always came where humans were weakest. And when it did, the rift would close around it. The trap was set. For days, the fleets waited in silence. Thousands of alien soldiers sat ready at their stations. Admirals clenched their claws, their mandibles, their hands. They promised their soldiers glory, the end of fear, the death of the monster, and then the void rippled. The Blackstar arrived. It came alone. No human fleet. No escorts. No reinforcements. Just a single black shape sliding out of hyperspace into the jaws of the trap. For a moment, silence ruled. Even the coalition admirals felt doubt. Could this truly be the ship that had destroyed so many of their fleets? Could this fragile, scarred vessel stand against thousands? Then the order was given. Fire. The rift lit up. Beams, missiles, plasma storms. Everything the coalition had poured into one place unleashed at once. The void itself seemed to burn. To human eyes, it would have looked like a second sun had been born in the rift. The Blackstar disappeared into the storm, swallowed whole by endless fire. The aliens roared. At last they had cornered the beast. At last they would end the legend. But then the fire began to die and the Blackstar still moved, its hull burned. Whole sections of plating glowed molten red. Towers of armor were torn away, and yet through the storm, its weapons lit the void with black fire. The first wave of coalition ships died screaming. The Blackstar wove through impossible angles, slipping between the blasts as if space itself bent to its will. Its beams cut through the largest dreadnoughts in seconds. Its missiles bent around shields, splitting into swarms that tore carriers apart from within. Dozens of ships fell. Then hundreds. The coalition pressed harder. They poured everything they had into the rift. Every admiral screamed for their fleets to hold. Every soldier fired as if their very gods were watching. The sky of Carina Rift became a battlefield of endless flame, and still the Blackstar fought. But this was not like before. The Blackstar bled. Its hull cracked open. Fires spilled from its wounds. Its beams flickered slower than before. Its missiles grew fewer, its shields weaker. Piece by piece, it was being torn apart. Yet it never stopped. To the coalition, it was terror made real. Death itself refusing to fall. To the humans who later learned of the battle, it was sacrifice given form. One ship standing against an empire knowing it would not survive, but refusing to give in. The Blackstar had entered their trap, but the trap was beginning to break. The Carina Rift became fire. When the Blackstar entered, the coalition thought the trap was perfect. Thousands of warships, every weapon the galaxy could build, all focused on a single target. No one believed the dreadnought could survive. No one thought it would even last a minute. But the Blackstar was not a normal ship. Through the storm of fire, it moved with a will of its own. Where the enemy expected it to fall, it advanced. Where the void blazed with weapons, it slipped between the blasts as though the universe bent to protect it. The first enemy line shattered. Coalition admirals screamed orders. Fighters swarmed. Cruisers charged. Dreadnoughts fired together in one great wave of destruction. For every alien ship that died, 5 more pushed forward. The rift was filled with explosions, burning debris, and the screams of soldiers who realized they were fighting not a machine, but vengeance itself. The Blackstar bled as it fought. Its armor peeled away, fires burned across its hull, whole sections cracked open to space. But even in its suffering, its weapons never faltered. Black beams cut through carriers. Missiles twisted through the void like hunting animals, breaking through shields and tearing ships apart from within. Every moment was sacrifice. When an enemy cruiser launched a torpedo spread, the Blackstar did not evade. It let the torpedoes hit, tearing away part of its spine just so it could fire one last devastating beam into the enemy flagship. When a swarm of fighters closed in, its point defense lit them up, burning thousands at the cost of draining its own power. It fought like a wounded beast, dying, but determined to drag its killers down with it. Hours passed. Hundreds of coalition ships were gone. The rift became a graveyard of fire and wreckage. Still, the Blackstar fought even as its weapons dimmed, even as its movements grew slower. Its wrath was endless, but its strength was not. For the first time, the alien commanders saw hope. The Blackstar's light flickered. Its beams came slower, its missiles fewer. They smelled blood. They ordered their ships forward, desperate to finish what they had begun. And then the Blackstar's voice returned. Across every channel, in every tongue, one message echoed. Remember humanity. Remember why you feared us. The words chilled the hearts of every alien soldier. Even human historians would write that in that moment, it was not the ship speaking, but the countless souls of humanity's dead, colonists burned on shattered worlds, soldiers lost in broken fleets, children erased in bombardments, all of them speaking through the Blackstar. Then the ship unleashed its final wrath. The Blackstar's engines roared with impossible power, burning brighter than any sun. It tore through the center of the coalition fleet, cutting a path straight into the heart of the trap. Beams fired without pause, slicing battleships in half. Its missiles launched in waves, splitting into swarms that turned the void into a storm of guided fire. The coalition fleet collapsed. Admirals begged their ships to hold, but there was no holding. One by one, their great armadas broke apart. Some tried to run, but the Blackstar hunted them down. Others surrendered, but there was no mercy left in the shadow. The galaxy would never forget the sight. Thousands of ships destroyed. The greatest fleet ever assembled, torn to ash by one single vessel. The Carina Rift, once a graveyard of dead stars, now became the graveyard of the Coalition's pride. But victory came at a price. The Blackstar was burning. Its hull glowed red with heat. Whole sections had broken away, leaving its insides exposed. Fires raged along its spine. Its weapons flickered, fading into silence one by one. And still, it pressed forward until the very last enemy ship was gone. When the rift finally grew quiet, only wreckage remained. The Blackstar floated in the center, wounded beyond repair. Its engines sputtered. Its lights dimmed. The ship that had been more than a ship, vengeance, legend, wrath itself, was silent at last. Then for the final time it spoke. The war is over. Let humanity live. With those words, the Blackstar's engines flared one last time, carrying it into the dark beyond the rift. Some said it exploded in the void, burned away by its own fury. Others swore it vanished into hyperspace, too fast for scanners to follow. No one ever saw it again. But the memory remained. The Battle of Carina Rift was the day the galaxy learned that one ship, one people, one unbroken will could change everything. It was the day the Coalition lost more than their fleets. They lost their certainty. They lost their dominance. They lost their belief that humanity could ever be broken. And it was the day the Blackstar became more than a weapon. It became eternal. The Carina Rift was silent. Where once thousands of ships had stood, only wreckage drifted now. The proud fleets of the Coalition of the Pure had been reduced to dust, their banners burned, their power broken. And in the center of that vast graveyard floated the memory of a ship. The Blackstar was gone. Some swore they saw it explode, a final burst of fire swallowed by the void. Others claimed it jumped into hyperspace at the last second, disappearing into some secret corner of the stars. No one could ever prove which story was true, but everyone knew one thing. The Blackstar had given everything. News spread across the galaxy like fire and dry grass. Human colonies, once crushed under fear, raised their heads again. Soldiers who had lost hope felt pride return to their hearts. Farmers on distant worlds wept in joy. whispering thanks to a ship they would never see. Children drew its shape on walls, black triangles with burning eyes. To them, the Blackstar was not just a ship, it was the protector that had saved them all. For the Coalition, the defeat was more than a military loss. It was a wound in their soul. Entire species that had once followed them in fear now doubted their strength. Some worlds rebelled, some fleets deserted, others simply whispered the truth. If one human ship could do this, what would happen if humanity sent 10, 100, 1,000? The name Blackstar became a warning. Alien leaders tried to erase it. They forbade soldiers from speaking of it. They destroyed records of the Carina Rift battle. But stories cannot be killed. Survivors told their children. Captains told their crews. Traders carried tales from star to star. And always the story grew. They said the Blackstar was not built by human hands but forged from the anger of the dead. They said it was crewed not by men and women but by the ghosts of humanity's fallen, guiding its weapons with rage and sorrow. Some even said the ship itself was alive, its soul born from every colony that had burned under alien attack. Humans never denied these stories. Instead, they let the galaxy wonder. In the halls of the United Earth Navy, the Blackstar's name was spoken with reverence. No new ship ever bore its title, for to do so would be to insult its sacrifice. Instead, every warship carried a small plaque, etched with the words, "Remember the Blackstar. Remember what we are capable of." Generations later, cadets at the Academy learned of it not as history, but as legend. They studied its battles, its tactics, its final stand in the rift. And at the end of their lessons, instructors always asked the same question. If you had been on the Blackstar, would you have stood until the end? The question was not for answers. It was for silence, for reflection, because everyone knew the truth. The Blackstar had not survived because it was strong. It had survived because it refused to surrender. It had fought not for glory, not for revenge, but for the simple, unshakable belief that humanity had the right to live, and that belief had changed the galaxy. Even among the aliens, whispers turned into respect. Some races, once enemies, began to treat humans with caution, even admiration. Old hatred softened. Small alliances were born. For if a people could create something like the Blackstar, perhaps they were not to be destroyed but understood. Centuries passed. Empires rose and fell, but the Blackstar remained in memory. Songs were sung of it, holos were made, telling its story to children who had never known war. Statues were built, not of captains or admirals, but of the ship itself, a black triangle pointing toward the stars. And in the quiet of night, when human settlers looked up at alien skies, they often whispered a single prayer. Watch over us, Blackstar, wherever you are. Perhaps the ship was gone forever. Perhaps it still drifted in the dark, broken but unyielding, waiting for the day it would be needed again. No one knew, and in truth no one wanted to know, because legends do not die when they end. They live forever in the hearts they touched. The USS Blackstar had entered the war. It had burned across the stars like wrath made, real. And though nothing survived its fury, something greater remained, hope. And hope, unlike ships and fleets and empires, can never be destroyed.